Is your website not ranking on Google? In this episode, I'm going to show you 4 reasons why your website's not ranking on Google and how you can improve that today. Okay, reason number 1 is that your website is not mobile ready. Is your website ready for your little mobile device? Is it optimized on every page and every blog post? Because if it's not, you're in big trouble. Google is now ranking websites according to whether or not they're mobile ready, and starting next year they're going to have their index mobile optimized first. So if your website's not mobile ready, that's a huge problem. You need to get in there and test your website and see whether or not it's ready for mobile using some responsive testers or using some other tools, which I'll put in the links below the video. So go down and scroll down if you want to see those links. And you need to get in there and test your website on a mobile device. First of all, you also want to test it on a tablet. So make sure you're testing approximately on a Galaxy or maybe even an iPad. Test in some shops if you're walking past. Just make sure your website is responding to those main devices, and get out a laptop as well, maybe an Apple laptop, maybe a HP laptop. Just test whenever you can and see how your website is responding to different sizes, because that's one of the biggest problems you're having. Not only is it going to affect your conversion rates and how long people stay, Google is watching that stuff, and it's going to affect your rankings, it's going to affect your conversions, it affects a whole bunch of stuff. So you really need to make sure your website is mobile optimized. If not already, then in the future, because it's going to be a big problem for SEO and everything. Reason number 2 is that your pages are not SEO optimized. Just the really simple stuff. So we're talking about here things like your titles, your meta descriptions, making sure your keywords are at least in the page a couple of times, but not too much, because Google doesn't like it when you keyword stuff. These days, you basically just need to write your content logically and make sure it's on topic, and you'll automatically rank. But you have to put your keywords in at least 4 or 5 places. So let's list them out. Put it in your URL where possible and remove the small words. So if your blog post is how to rank on Google, and that's the keyword phrase you're going for, then your URL would be how rank Google. So remove the small words. The next one is to put it in your title and your main heading. If you're using WordPress, that's just across the top when you first create a page or post. Just put it in there and it automatically goes into the SEO if you're using the Yoast plugin. If you're not, you've got to figure out how to get that into your title. The next one is the meta description. It's not necessarily a ranking factor, but when people see your result on Google, they're actually going to have a look and see whether the keywords they've typed in are in there. And if they're not in there, then they're going to start to think, well, is this the result I'm after? Because it's not talking about the keywords that I've typed in and clicked. So make sure that your keywords are in your meta description. So number 3 is to get it in the beginning of your post. Let's say the first 100 words, the first paragraph, first few sentences, and maybe a few more times in a title, in a piece of bold text. It's not super important. You want to stay on topic and have a really good post, but you want to make sure it's in there as well. And then the last one would be just to try and get it in an image somewhere, maybe in the alt text of the first image on the page. Doesn't have to be, it's not that critical, but try to do that. Dump in your blog post title if you don't have an interesting image. If you're talking about food, then put in the title of the recipe. If you're talking about travel, put in the name of the city. Whatever it may be, just get it in the image in the alt text. It helps your images rank anyway, so you should be doing that stuff. So URL, title, meta description, and that's the main heading as well, and also the first 100 words, and then the alt text of the images. And with those 5 things, you are good to go. So number 3, we discussed this last time in another video, is website speed. It's playing a huge role in SEO and in conversion and a whole bunch of different things. Now, it may only be a very small ranking factor that Google's looking at, but because it's affecting how long people are staying on your page, if they're even looking at your page, and if they're staying and whether they're coming back, it's also going to affect your SEO and your conversion in a number of different ways. So if your website's not lightning fast, let's say 2 to 3 second load time, then maybe people aren't going to wait. And if they click on your result in Google and they don't wait and they go back, Google sees that. They have a name for it. It's called pogo sticking. And if you pogo stick, that means you're not happy with the result. And that means Google's not happy putting your result up the top because no one's happy with it, because they're not looking at it. They're not waiting for it. It's too damn slow. So you need to make sure your pages are loading fast, because it's a small ranking factor, because it's affecting usability, and because ultimately it makes your customers and your visitors happy. Okay, so number 4 is keyword research. And what I mean by that is you should be researching every single blog post you're doing. Well, at least most of them. Now, it could be that you just write your blog posts off the top of your head. You're just thinking, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's just write that blog post and it's going to rank on Google, right? Because that's a really cool idea. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's just not going to work. Google ranks stuff that is the most competitive and has the most authority, not based on whether or not you think it's a great idea. So if there's already 10 websites ranking above you because they're more authoritative than you, they've been in the game longer than you, they've got more links than you, then you're wasting your time writing that blog post. Let's take an example. Let's say I have a food blog. I don't have a food blog, but maybe you have a food blog and you want to write on vegan brownies. You're going to cook some vegan brownies this week and I'm really looking forward to eating those vegan brownies. So you're going to do the blog post, you're going to cook up the brownies, you're going to write the blog post on the recipe, but before you spend a day doing that, you should check on Google whether or not you have a chance to rank. So first of all, you need to go into a keyword tool. Now I recommend you go into something like Keyword Planner. You can get that with your Gmail account, just sign in and check that out and see whether or not there's any traffic for those kind of keywords. Now I'm guessing there is for that kind of blog post, but if you're getting more specific like vegan brownies for kids or vegan brownies for grandmas, there might not be so much traffic. So you want to be sure that there's going to be traffic, there's going to be searches per month before you bother to actually write the content. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is to check the competition. So you want to go on Google and at least eyeball, check the top 10 and see whether you think you can beat them. Are they really top blogs in your niche? Do you know the top blogs in your niche? Because you should. And if you don't, you better go and have a look who they are, because if they're all on the page 1 for that particular piece of content, you have 0 chance of ranking. So forget it. Unless it's a massive search volume like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 a month, you might get a little bit of that on page 2. Otherwise, it's not worth your time. You're better off doing something people haven't thought of that's a little bit more specific, a little bit more creative. But just go and do the keyword research, go and check it out. If you don't know how to do that, jump onto my blog. There's some blog posts on that stuff. I'll give you guys some links below, some tools that I use, some ideas that I use. I've even got a course on this stuff because it's what I specialize in. I find the ideas that can get me to page 1 without even trying. That's what I generally do for my own websites and for my clients. So I know a lot about this stuff. It's not difficult, but you need to know the tricks. And you need to actually be doing it. So first step is actually learning how to do it and spending some time on it. So get out there and apply some of these principles. Get your website mobile ready. Get your website speed optimized. Let's turn those fingers around. You should do your keyword research. Well, they got the numbers wrong anyway. And of course, the last one was apply the keywords in the right position in your blog post. And that is URL, title, meta description, main heading, first paragraph, and image. So if you're doing all of those things, you should be getting a lot more SEO traffic and you should be seeing a lot more sunshine from Google starting tomorrow. So if you enjoyed this post, I'm Ashley from Mad Lemmings and I specialize in WordPress and SEO. And if you like either of those, I do a lot of content